Good evening. Welcome to another episode of my podcast, Fitlike. Now, I've got a guest for you tonight. Not quite sure how to introduce him. Is he a strongman? Is he a stone lifter? Is he a weightlifter? But I'll tell you what, we'll get Andy in, we'll have a chat. Good evening, Andy. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Willie. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. So, sorry, guys, this is Andy Crawford I've got with me. So, my first question tonight, Andy, is as always on this podcast, Fitlike.
Not bad at all, thanks. Yeah, very well.
Good, good, good. So I was quite a garbled introduction there. Maybe you should describe what you are to the viewers.
That's a good question. Still a little bit unsure, although I would say probably if we boil it down, I'm a stone lifter to heart. So mainly lifting natural stones and historic stones, but also dabbling, dip my toes a little bit into strongman. Haven't quite gone down the powerlifting route yet, but I've done a wee bit of strongman, but mainly stone lifting at the moment.
Okay, was you lifting anything heavy this weekend?
Yep, I was away on a wee stone tour this weekend. Nothing too heavy. I was lifting the inverse stone, which is one of the sort of intermediate weight stones, weighs 118 kilos, somewhere in the kind of middle between like the sort of big, huge ones, which are like 160 plus, and then you've got the smaller ones, which are around about 90-ish, so it's somewhere in the middle. So I was lifting that. And then we made a wee trip up into Glenquay down near Braemar and lifted a wee stone up there that's about 60 kilo as well. So that was quite good.
Right, you're speaking with kilos, Andy. Put it into my language. What's 60 kilos to stones?
Oh, oh, conversion, not sure off the top of my head. The inverse stone, the one I was lifting, you're probably talking round about maybe somewhere between 19 and 20 stone, something like that.
Wow.
Something like that.
So I guess we're getting back to the starting. How do you get into doing this?
Again, it all started with, funnily enough, an Australian nurse, believe it or not.
Okay.
So she came over about 5 years ago to lift the Dinnie stones, and that went kind of viral. It got stone lifting back on the map. Fascinating to see a woman from Australia with an everyday job coming over to lift this tremendous weight. So I saw the news article about it and was just fascinated. Found out they were quite near here and down near a Boyne area, Portar. I was just like, well, why not? Give that a go myself.
And you'd never thought of doing any of these kind of things before, no?
At the time, I had, just got back into fitness. I was doing a bit of bodybuilding, a bit of weightlifting, that type of thing. Was at this point where I was happy with my physique, was thinking maybe go away from the bodybuilding, maybe go down the powerlifting route. But then because I saw that article and thought, well, I'll train to lift the Dinnie stones, that's just where it started. And I've kind of focused on the historic and natural stones after that.
Well, prior to meeting you, Andy, I'd never heard of the Dinnie Stones. So you've now mentioned them. You better explain to everybody what the Dinnie Stones are, what's the history behind them, and how did you prepare yourself for lifting those massive stones?
So the Dinnie Stones, I could probably go on for the next half hour about it, so I'll try and summarise it. There's a great documentary called Stoneland all about them. But they are two massive granite boulders. They're a little bit different from your usual natural stones because they have rings attached to them, iron rings. They were used as counterweights for the building of the Portark Bridge, and that was used by Donald Dinnie and his father when they were helping construct the bridge. And of course, the great legendary feat of strength is that Donald Dinnie, one of Scotland's all-time greatest athletes, strength athletes, he carried them across the bridge. So I think it's about 17 feet or so he carried them, and that was just the legendary feat of strength that kind of put them on the map, so to speak.
Okay, so this was it Donald Dinnie, you said.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of physique did this guy have? Was he a big, huge lad, or what was he?
No, he was fairly average sized, I would say. I mean, the photos and the like records we've got of him, say he's around about maybe 200 pounds in weight. Fairly lean guy, but very, very strong, stonemason, lifting for his job, that type of thing. And then from there got into strength sports and won thousands of medals over his career. He was like your first international superstar athlete, one of the most decorated athletes in history.
Wow. And he's on our doorstep, but I'd never heard of him.
That's it. Yeah, on our doorstep. And again, because it is just so far in the past, we're talking 1800s, he's just kind of fallen into the annals of history. And because obviously he was doing Highland Games strength sports, which may have been popular back then, towards the end of the 1800s, really, if you look at your football teams, that's when they all started coming out. So like football's kind of taken over, rugby took over, and he just fell into the sort of obscurities of history, really.
Okay. So you saw that documentary and you thought, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you need to start training and do that? Obviously, there must have been a training regime you put yourself through to get fit for that, was it?
So I just started looking online, doing my research on YouTube, looking at what other lifters had done. Stumbled across a guy called Stevie Shanks, a guy from Ireland, and it turns out that his dad, Jack Shanks, he was one of the first to lift the Dinnie stones in modern times, and he's more or less like the trailblazer of the Dinnie stones lifting technique, because these iron rings, they're not like a standard barbell. You can't just go up and, well, unless you're, I've got ridiculous grip strength. You can't just go up and grab these things and pick them up barehanded. You have to use a weightlifter's hook grip.
Okay.
So you have to put your thumb underneath the bar and grab onto your thumb, which sounds painful, and it is painful, but really that's the only way, unless you've got an absurd level of grip strength, that's the only way you can sort of lift those sorts of weights. You're talking 180 kilos, 400 odd pounds in one hand, and then 300 odd pounds in the other hand.
Sorry, what did you just say? 400 and what?
400 and, again, I'm thinking of my conversions. I know in kilos, it's 180 kilos in one hand, and then 140 kilos in the other hand, which, roughly speaking, that's over 400 pounds in one hand, and then 300 and something in the other.
And you're lifting them both at the same time?
Both at the same time.
All right, thanks for clarifying, and sorry for interrupting.
I know, no bother. So I went online, found a video by Stevie Shanks, and sort of started working on his grip techniques, and that's really was the breakthrough for me. Because I'd done the bodybuilding and a little bit of powerlifting before that, I had the strength to lift them. Because what it kind of translates to is a partial deadlift. So it's not a full range of motion deadlift, it's just a sort of partial one, which makes it a little bit easier. Still not easy by any means, but a little bit easier than a normal deadlift. But the problem for most people is the grip, because you're holding on to round, super smooth iron rings, not knurling like a barbell that's easy to grip. So really, once you get past the strength criteria, which for most people would probably be somewhere in the region of about a 220 to 250 kilo deadlift, once you get past that threshold, really it's all down to your grip. So it was just a case of training twice a week for about best part of a year for me to get up to that level of grip strength that I wanted to be at, so as I could put in a good performance, because my goal was to hang on to them for at least 10 seconds or so. And I ended up on the day getting about 18, 19 seconds, something like that. So that was really good.
So you just stand them, lift them, and hold them in a standing position. Is that how it works?
That's it. Yep, lift them, hold them, hang on for as long as you can, test your grip strength. That was my goal. Yeah.
So what was it you had to do? Did you say for at least 10 seconds?
Aye, so I wanted to get up to at least 10 seconds. I could have probably done the lift a lot earlier, because to get a good lift, to get your name in the history books, you need to lift them barehanded, no straps, no assistance equipment. Lift them barehanded, lock out for about 2 seconds-ish. As long as you're fully standing up, locked out, then that's it. It's a good lift, and you get your name in the book. But I set myself a little bit of a goal, and I wanted to, really lift, hold them, and hang on for as long as I could.
So you'd been blown away with 18 seconds, and were you?
I was just blown away by it, and it just shows you the difference between training in the gym using weight plates versus in actually doing the real thing. Totally similarities, obviously, but totally different in terms of how the plates respond versus how stones respond to when you lift
Okay.
them.
Now, the Dinnie stones, what sort of shape are they?
Just big lumps of sort of, I mean, there's no real symmetry to them, just two big lumps of granite, really. The large one's almost triangular. It's got a nose. Some people refer to it as it's got a nose. The small one's just a kind of standard roundish boulder.
So you did 18 seconds. Was there any after effects, any aches or pains the day after?
No, just at the time, because I kind of pushed myself to the very, very limit of what I was capable of, and because you're hanging on to, 332 point something kilograms for that
That's
length of
amazing.
time, it does put a lot of pressure through the body, and so I got a little minor nosebleed, but while I was doing it. But other than that, nothing major, just your usual stingy hands for the next couple of hours.
That's an amazing feat of strength, that, so Andy. Well done. Have you done it again since?
No, so when I did it, that made me the 174th person to ever lift them barehanded. So quite proud of that. And since then, I haven't actually lifted the Dinnie Stones since. However, it's a goal. It's on the back burner that I want to go back and do a side by side lift, because I did the straddle lift, which is where you lift them between your legs, whereas it's a slightly more challenging lift to lift them like shopping bags side by side. So I want to go back one day and do the side by side lift.
So is that like one either side of each foot, is it?
Aye, so just like two massive shopping bags if you're walking back from Tesco's, that type of type of lift, which is a lot more difficult because the centre of gravity is out to the side rather than straight up and down between your legs. It makes it a lot easier.
Well, knowing you as well as I do and what you've achieved in the past, Andy, I'll put nothing past you. I've nothing beyond you. I'm sure you'll manage it.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, Willie.
Well, we shall see. I was looking on after you told me about. I'll check the YouTube video, and there's a bunch of American lads moving the Dinnie Stones. I actually walking with them. What was the difference with that and what you was doing?
So you're talking now. We're at the stage where in the last 6 months or so, we've had over 200 lifters now since the 1800s. And the ultimate challenge really is to try and walk with the Dinnie Stones. And I think we're still under 10 guys who have ever managed to do that.
Wow.
And you're talking to be able to lift that weight and walk with it, you really do have to be elite. You have to be professional, semi-professional, to be able to get more than a step or two. So there's quite a few guys have done that now. Have managed to walk a few feet, but nobody yet has quite completed the feat of strength of being able to carry it 17 feet across the bridge. So that hasn't actually happened yet. But there has been several attempts, and folk have got just over halfway generally. And of course, the thing that really launched stone lifting into the spotlight was, of course, the History Channel program, Strongest Man in History, and the couple of Americans came over, as well as Eddie Hall from England, and they all had a shot at walking across the bridge with them. And some of them only managed to get a couple of steps. I think Brian Shaw got about 3/4 of the way across. He's like 4 times world's strongest man, so it just shows you how challenging that is.
So is that a challenge for you in the future, is it?
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, you're talking the Scottish record at the moment is, because I saw the guy do it, a guy called Dale. Dale, he managed to walk, I think, maybe 4 or 5 steps, and you're talking he's top 10 strongest in Scotland. So an incredible feat of strength. I'd be happy with like 2 or 3 steps, or even if I could just move, because that weight, 330 kilo, just makes you feel as if you're glued to the floor.
But as I said, Andy, I put nothing past you, pal. You're capable of anything.
You never know. Maybe one day.
Well, if somebody sees this for the first time, has never heard of Dinnie Stones and punches a go, how would they go about getting to it? Do you apply for it? Is that an online thing? How do you do it?
Yep. So all you would do is you would go into the dinniestones.com, easy Google search. On you go to there, work your way through the website, and then you can book in a lift. So there's like a form on there, online form, and you can book in a lift. They usually lift across spring, summer, and then your last lift's of October time. They don't tend to allow you to lift them through the winter because there's no chance you're going to be able to lift them if the rings are soaking.
Right.
So you can sign up there, and then a guy called Brett, he'll come down. He's associated with the Belogie estate, which is where the stones are. Brett Nicol, and he'll come down and adjudicate and like referee, and he'll decide whether or not you get your good lift or not based on how you lock out. So that's how it works for you for getting a lift booked in. Yeah.
Very good, very good. So tell me about the Glenlivet stone. Did I
So
say
the
it
Glen,
correctly?
yeah, so the Glenlivet stone, yeah, the Glenlivet, or if you, I'll probably butcher the Gaelic here, so I do apologise to anyone who's Gaelic, but it's the Glenlivet Clachnaíocht, which is the Glenlivet lifting stone, and that's obviously located in Glenlivet. It's one of the most rarely lifted stones because it's very much remote. You know, it's right in the middle of a private farm, so you have to kind of ask permission to go and lift it. Obviously, a bit of courtesy, and it's not been lifted many times. I think we're well under 10, if not under 5 lifts, since it was rediscovered back in sort of 2010 to 2013.
So what sort of weight we're looking there?
So that has been weighed, and that is 130 kilos. Although because of the practice of burning heather, because it sits in a field with heather and they've often burned that off, it's been damaged a few times and there's been heat's kind of like cracked the stone and little bits of it have fallen off. So recently there was a little bit chipped off due to that. So we're probably looking closer to maybe 125 kilos now. It's maybe not quite the 130 that it once was, but still quite a decent stone.
So you've got to lift up the deck and get up on your shoulders, is that right?
So yeah, now we're talking about a completely different style of lifting from the Dinny stones. We're talking about the stone sitting on, as you say, the deck, and you have to bend down, pick that stone up from the ground as a deadlift, and then try and work your way through the 5 different phases of stone lifting.
I'm assuming it's no mean feat to do it. Do you have any help? Do you have anything in your hands, gloves, anything to help you get grip?
So again, there's no official like I don't know governing body over historic stones. It's just the community. But the guys who kind of trailblazed and discovered these stones sort of set a standard in their writings and their blog posts and their articles that they wrote. And what they said was that, you know, really, as respect to the stone and tradition, you really shouldn't be using any sticky glue, tacky, pine rosin, anything like that, anything that'll stick to the stone. Again, there's some guys who do wear sleeves. They put sleeves over their arms, like leather sleeves to lift because maybe they've got like sensitive skin, something like that. Again, that's not too frowned upon. That's, you know, fair enough. But as long as you're not really sticking yourself to it or anything like that, and again, there's not a lot of evidence for it being lifted in any other way other than by hand. But we're thinking there might have been some sort of lift using plaid, like kilt, like a kilt lift. Like they might have made some sort of makeshift harness and lifted stones with a kilt. We don't know. The research was never completed. But as it stands right now, it would be a case of, yep, down you go, no gloves, no tacky, just chalk, you know, to try to dry your hands out. You would lift it, and you would lift it from there.
So once it's on the shoulder, do you have to keep it there for any length of time?
Again, now we're into the realms of, as I say, there's no governing body. So this whole shoulder thing is, as far as we know, fairly new. It's a personal goal I've set myself to get as many of these to shoulder as possible. But if we look back in the history books and we look at the accounts of the people who, like from the Gaelic community, some of the older people in that community, a good lift was to chest.
Okay.
So the whole shoulder thing is a fairly new invention.
So apart from Glenlivet stone, you've lifted quite a lot of stone. Every weekend there seems to be a Facebook post where you something up about your neck. What else have you done, Andy?
So as far as I know, and again, I'm quite happy for anybody to correct me on this, but as far as I know, I'm the second person to have lifted all the mainland stones on mainland Scotland. The only other guy I know who's done that is Jamie Gorian, and I think possibly David Broadley, but I'll need to ask him. So again, I'm maybe one of three that's lifted all the mainland stones, so quite proud of that.
That's a fair old record. So how many mainline stones are there?
We're looking at approximately, again, I don't know off the top of my head exactly, but you're looking at ones that are available for lifting, approximately 20, I'd say, around about that.
Wow. So you must be on some sort of special diet for us to maintain the strength. What would you eat different to what I would eat in a day to keep you up to speed?
To be quite honest, I'm just on a reasonable diet. It's nothing particularly, precise. That's one of the advantages of the strongman thing, for me at least, is that my diet, as long as I'm eating a reasonable amount of carbohydrates, I'm eating a reasonable amount of micronutrients through my fruit and veg. And then one thing I do make sure I do is get my protein in, get my protein goal. So I'd probably be eating slightly more carbohydrates than yourself. If you're having like 4, 5 roast potatoes, I'll maybe have 7. If you're maybe having one chicken breast, I'll have 2. That type of thing. So it's just a little bit extra, but nothing crazy. Nothing crazy.
So in my money, Andy, what sort of weight are you?
So at the moment, again, I do apologise. I'm dealing in kilograms at the moment. So I weigh 106 kilos, which I think might be 17 stone. I'm not sure if it's quite that heavy. Again, I don't know conversion, but I weigh 106 at the moment.
Is that what you would say? Is that your comfortable lifting weight?
That seems to be where my weight has stabilised without having to do crazy bulks, without having to really, because there's some of the strongmen that are on like, thousands upon thousands of calories a day say that one of the hardest parts of maintaining that weight is just relentless eating. Mm-hmm. So I can maintain that weight with just a little bit of extra attention paid to how much I'm eating, but I don't go overboard. I'm not sitting there like, oh my goodness, I need to shovel down another box of rice at break time or whatever.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So lifting all those weights, it must take a toll on the body. What sort of injuries have you sustained in the past?
So I think this is where that's one of my advantages is I've been very, very good at listening to my body, and I've been very, very good at doing my research and making sure that I'm not only like rehabbing injuries, but as I was speaking to you about a wee while ago, I'm also prehabbing injuries. So I'm like preempting them. So I'm doing a lot of mobility work. I'm doing a lot of resistant band work to make sure that I don't get injured. So believe it or not, touch wood, at the moment, I am the most injury-free I've been ever, because I'm spending a lot of time making sure that any potential injuries are nipped in the bud.
Ah, very good. Very good. So you recently did a strongman event at the Leisure Centre in Broch.
That's right, yeah.
What was the shall we say, the change of pace maybe you get for being lifting to doing that? What was the difference?
So basically, as I say, I've always considered strongman. I've always been like, well, once I've lifted all the stones, what's next? I mean, you can just keep going around the circuit and go on stone tours and just keep lifting the stones over and over again. That's fair enough. I might do that. But I was thinking, well, maybe look to applying this strength somewhere else, because there's a few stone lifting competitions out there, but they're not as sort of formal, if you like, as strongman competitions. They're not like weight classes or anything like that. It's just a bunch of guys lifting stones competing against each other. But anyway, it was just because it was on my doorstep. I saw it. I went, well, there you go. It's just up the road. It's where I work. Why not give it a shot? We'll see how it goes. We'll see how much all this stone lifting stuff carries over into strongman. If I'd completely flopped in it, I would know, okay, I've got a lot of work to do to transition into that sport. If there was a lot of carryover with the stones, I'd be like, oh, that's great then. That means I can continue doing my stones and just sort of build in maybe some of the specialised events as I go along.
What was there a few different, if it's a word, events within the event?
Yeah, so we started off, let me try and remember, first event was pressing, so overhead. And that was by far my weakest event because, as you know, from all my posts, as high as I go is shoulder. I don't do much overhead stuff, so I get my weights to my shoulder and that's it. So this overhead stuff was quite alien to me. So I do a little bit of stone pressing here and there, but nothing major. So that was the first event. Then we had the tire flip, which was flipping a big like excavator tire over 300 kilos worth. So you had to flip that 6 times. Then there was the farmer's walk next, which was 95 kilo each hand, and you had to go 15 meters up and 15 meters back. Then we went on to the van pull, which was pulling I think it was about a 3+ ton van back up that 15
Just a
meters.
3 ton, aye.
Just a wee one. So that again, that was first time doing that, and then we had the event that was sort of most in my comfort zone at the end, which was picking up kegs, sandbags. There was even an atlas stone. There was an actual stone, and you had to load that onto a platform, onto a tire with a mat on top of it.
And I think you came first, did you?
That's right. I was very surprised. So I ended up winning
Well
3.
done.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much. I ended up winning 3 out of the 5 events, and then came second in the other 2. So that was enough to win by 1 point. But I was up against a very strong local lad, Laurie Cheen, so he did very, very well. But I just managed to clinch it with 1 point.
Well done. Is that something you might pursue in the future?
I did quite enjoy it. It was very, I mean, it's something that yeah, I might look into in the future. The big change for me though will be to be working on my conditioning and my cardio,
Okay.
because the way that I approach my stone lifting is, you've got a really heavy stone there, you empty your entire tank into one lift, everything you've got into one repetition. You get that stone to your shoulder, and that's the job done. Whereas in the strongman, it's more about repetitions. It's more about how much can you do in 90 seconds.
Aye, okay.
So that exposed my weakness, which is that I'm not as well conditioned as a lot of these strong men are. They're actually really fit. They've got that muscular endurance that they can carry over about up to 90 seconds events.
But I'm sure that's something you'll take on board and get sorted for the future if you're going to keep doing them.
I'd say so, and again, it's probably for my benefit, because it's a lot healthier doing that kind of stuff, getting cardio going again. Because I've kind of neglected that over the last few years, not running as much, not cycling as much. So definitely be a good thing for me.
To date, what do you think has been your best achievement?
There's no doubt in my mind that it's what happened fairly recently, which is getting the Fitlike stone to shoulder by far. That's it. As far as I'm concerned, that'll probably be the only world-class thing I will do in my life. And so I'm very proud of that.
So what was so special about that one?
So the thing that's so special about that one is that it's 152 kilos, so we're talking over 300 pounds worth of super smooth granite. But the thing that people get or the thing that defeats people on the Fitlike is that they don't anticipate how unbalanced it is. The only way to describe it is it's like someone's put a lump of lead in one side of it.
Okay.
So it all wants to fall over and fall forward, and it's just very unbalanced. So when you combine the fact that it's very heavy, it's smooth, and it's unbalanced, it makes it probably the most challenging lifting stone in Scotland right now, I would say.
But you made it.
So yeah, I recently became the 4th man in history to put it to my shoulder. Looking at the guys who have done it, 2 of them are professionals. One of them is a elite power lifter, big guy. So that it's great to be part of that sort of elite club. And as I say, I'm definitely the lightest to do it as well. So very, very proud to have managed that.
Well done.
Thank
You're
you.
becoming a right trailblazer, aren't you?
As I say, it was surreal. It was one of those surreal moments that if you had told me 3 or 4 years ago that this would happen, I would never have believed you, because it's just one of those, just as I say, it's outlandish. It's just such a world-class thing to do, and I can't believe I've managed to do it. It boggles the mind.
Good.
Because you look at the credentials of the other guys. You've got Andy Kearney, who's a multiple world record holder in powerlifting. You've got Eddie Williams, who's I think 2 times Australia's strongest man. Then you've got Yanis Shufkins, who is again an elite power lifter. And then you've got some random wee guy who lives in Peterhead. It just doesn't make sense.
See if when you're lifting that stone, Andy, see if you get safe far up and you drop it. Are you allowed another go? Or is it all got to be one go?
So again, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You can have as many attempts as you like. If the stone falls back down onto your lap, you can go again. As long as you, like I say, as long as you don't use any assistance and you manage to get that stone up to your shoulder, that's it, you know.
Did you have a wee drama or two to celebrate that night?
I did indeed. I had a couple of adult beverages to celebrate that moment. I was very chuffed.
Well, I would say I think you fully deserved it.
I'd say so.
So what's next?
That's the big question now, because everything from here on out is a bonus, because that was again my lifelong goal. So that's that achieved now. So everything from now on is just icing on the cake. So it's a case of definitely want to keep doing stone lifting, want to go down, do some more around Scotland, go on tours, because that's what it's all about. It's about the community, getting out there with like-minded folk and enjoying their achievements. So it's not done yet. I've got my training partner, Michael, and I really want to see him do it. So we're going to be going down in July, and hopefully he'll be the fifth. We're hoping, so that'd be really, really great. And as I say, that's one of the best things about the community. It's one of the best things about stone lifting is just the camaraderie in the community, because I will get as much of a buzz and I'll be just as elated if he gets it. Just the same as when I did it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not quite done yet. I want to see him do it now.
Very good. What about strongman competitions? There's going to be more of them, do you think?
Possibly. Looking at dates, I'm not sure if we'll be able to make it, but there is one in Peterhead soon. So I might go in for that. Certainly, I know Laurie that came second in the Broch one. He's wanting a rematch, so that'll be good. So if I'm able to go, I'll probably go in for that as well.
Very good. What about this Dave McNeely? He's going to the Scottish strongest man. Is that something you could go?
Again, I was talking to him, and I mean, hats off to David. His progress is frightening. The speed at which he has progressed from being an amateur now into intermediate and now pushing towards the open categories is just absolutely astounding. So hats off to David. Thing is, I would need to join a gym. So that's the big decision for me. I really enjoy the fact that I've got my little garage gym. It's got my stones in it. It's got my Atlas stones. It's got what I need to do stone lifting, but it doesn't have all the equipment that I need to train the strongman. So it doesn't have all the harnesses, the sleds, the yokes, all the stuff that David's training with. So that would be the big change. I would need to go and join a gym.
Okay, and is there one near you in Peterhead that would have all the gear you need?
There's a couple that I've got most of the things I'd need probably, or certainly I know what a lot of the boys do, David included, is they go down to Aberdeen. There's a gym in Aberdeen, so it'd be a case of every now and again popping down there, doing some training, or actually the Broch Iron Gym. I see Laurie training up there quite a lot, and they've got most of the kit. So it'd be a case of normally they do like strongman Sundays, so it'd be a case of going on a Sunday and training specific events.
So if you said you train with Laurie, would it help the two of you training together?
Massively, yeah. If that's one of the reasons why I think I've done well with the stone lifting, is because I've got my pal Michael, who I train with. We've been training for a couple of years now, and it's just that having someone at roughly the same level as you, constantly pushing you.
Okay.
Because obviously Michael's better at certain things than me. I'm better at certain things than him, and you sort of push each other on to new heights and break down barriers and push the limits. So that really does help.
Well, I'm feeling tired just listening to you. I think I've got to say about just listening to what you lifted.
It's exhausting, but it's good fun. It definitely keeps the mind and body sound.
Well, Andy, it's been an absolute blast talking to you, listening to all these things you've been lifting. And do you have a website for folk who can come and look at all the lifts you've done?
So I've got my Instagram, which is just for stone lifting, and I've got my YouTube, which is just for stone lifting, and that's just called my name, Crawford, and then the letters OV, so Crawford of 24.
Crawford
of 24.
OF 24.
Yeah, so Crawford OV 24, and that's both Instagram and YouTube, and you can see some lifts there if you were interested.
Well, I'm sure after this there'll be quite a lot of people going on having a look and just see where you started and where you could go to, and maybe it'll inspire them to greater things.
that's one of the best things, and that's one of the things that I'm really proud of, is that now, because I've lifted all the stones in Scotland and again put them on my Instagram, put them on YouTube, got a wee bit of a following, not massive, but they got like-minded people, and I got a lot of messages every day just from people asking for tips and hints and history about the stones, how to lift them, and it's just really good having that conversation with them and just like seeing them. There's a huge squad of guys I've been speaking to coming up from England in August. So they'll be coming up and doing a massive stone tour. I think there's over 10 of them coming up. So I'm going to try and meet in with them and do some lifts with them if I possibly can. It's just brilliant to see more people getting into it, more people enjoying the outdoors, getting fit, enjoying the Scottish scenery. It's just fabulous.
Magic. Well, I will keep up to date with your progress, because I always keep in touch with you and I always like to see how you're doing. And I can only wish
Thanks,
you
Willie.
the best going forward. And I hope, well, there's probably nothing safe that you kind of left. So nothing will surprise me, wee Andy.
That'll be me next. I see it behind you there in your background, the wine tower. With nicking stones out of that, trying to press them above my head or whatever.
Well, if half the Brock light who's disappeared, I'll tell you. Andy, I just wish you all the best, and thank you very much for coming on to my Fitlike podcast. It's been a blast talking to you.
Thanks, Willie. I mean, I hope people are interested, but I just enjoy whittering on about stones. So fantastic. Thanks for the opportunity.
You're an absolute star. Take care, Andy. Thank you very much, pal.
Right, take care, Willie.
Cheers. All the best, Andy. Hello, thank you for watching my podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned. There'll be plenty more good episodes to come. If you would like to join me on the podcast or nominate somebody who would like to see on the podcast, get in touch. You can get me on social media. You can get me on YouTube. You can phone me. My phone number's across the screen. It is 07904 756 332. I would also like if you could subscribe to my channel. That'll help the channel grow. And smash the bell. If you hit the bell, that'll give you notifications every time an episode's uploaded. So as I say, if you want to join me on the podcast, feel free to get in touch. I look forward to speaking to you, and hopefully you'll keep watching the podcast. There will be loads more good guests to come. Thank you very much. Fitlike.